Hi, folks. Welcome to Ask Evelyn Live, where we answer your questions about recycling, compost, garbage, and other trashy topics. I'm your host, Becca Fong, and this week it is World Refill Day. It's all about the free refills. It's about ditching single use and committing to reuse. So, quick reminder that this show is run on your questions, so make sure that you send them to us either Instagram or you can send us an email at askevelyn@seattle.gov. All right. Well, I'm super excited about that. The fact that we are bringing this show to you on World Refill Day. So just really quickly, I want to tell you, actually, Pat and I can talk to you about that really quickly. So Pat, hey, how you going?
Hey, how you doing, Becca? Good to see you.
I'm doing good.
Happy to be here. So it's World Refill Day, huh?
It's World Refill Day.
All right, I like it. My refillables here too.
It's a really cool, what I love about World Refill Day, it's just really quickly little background on it. It is a kind of movement out of the UK to really look at in the reusable space. You know, we talk about this all the time on the show, but they are kind of this coordinated like hub of information. I love that they call them schemes, just because I think that that's like so hysterical. Like, all right, let's have a scheme. Ways to get people to ditch single-use stuff and really commit to refilling things, because it's that to-go space that so much single-use goes through. So everything from water bottle refilling stations to supporting businesses that allow people to bring their own containers to refill, to helping businesses get started, deploying durable or reusable things. It's kind of the whole gamut, which is pretty cool. So,
I think it takes a lot of scheming. I think it takes a fair amount of planning. When you think of the word scheme, it's a great term, because refillables are, it's either a massively coordinated systems approach to have containers rotating through a system, like, our propane tanks, or refillable kegs of beer or whatever. There's like different things in the marketplace that they've figured out. They've schematically figured out, what the deal is going to be. But we as consumers, we can figure out our deal too. And we have all kinds of little containers and vessels and things within our daily, weekly lives with our families and friends that we can totally interrupt that one-way delivery of single use and do some refilling.
Totally. And so normally we have a question from one of you guys every week, but we really wanted to just talk about this whole concept of like how to interrupt things. I love that kind of concept of it, Pat. Like, how do we kind of stop that single use? It is so addictive. It's so convenient. And especially over the last year, where we really didn't know with COVID and the transmission, we backtracked for safety reasons. Absolutely. To a lot of single use stuff. But I
think COVID was a great. I think COVID was a great moment for that, to pull it in and just make sure we're all safe. Consumer safety in the hierarchy of concerns from a public agency, utility, absolutely paramount. I mean, we would never suggest or invite people to do something that was risky or something like that. So you got to keep it real, and you got to be smart about it. You don't want to put your raw meat in a reusable Ziploc baggie and then use it again the next day for your whatever salad or something. So it has a little, like, there's a little, space there to be aware of what's going on. But so that's a good point. I think, is just making sure there are many steps we can take that are measured and safe and within the realm. And COVID was a moment for all of us. But I will say this about COVID though. Is that the actual transmission of things, as we've mentioned in shows before, it's found not to be highly contagious on the surface of things. For going to the grocery store with a reusable canvas bag, all the stores are okay with that again. It was a concern for a while because we didn't know, but now we know it's not a concern. So that's good.
Absolutely. So in honor of World Refill Day, I think a lot about the to-go space, right? Because that's where the convenience is. You're running around, you're like picking something up really quick. And I just wanted, take a moment to chat about some of those things. We have talked a lot about this, and I love the to-go space because it's like, okay, I'm going to have a plan. This is going to be my scheme. I'm going to be super prepared. I'm going to have all my reusable stuff with me all the time. And it's great. Like we could talk really quickly. Let's talk about some things that are really, that you've been really
Right.
successful about incorporating in your life.
Right. And I think as we talked about, the attempts and fails sometimes, like keeping a little bag or a little baggie of some napkins and a couple of forks and spoons and things in the car, or keeping your to-go container with you when you go on the way to work, and you think you might want a cup of coffee on the way, so you grab your traveler mug with you. So those sort of like, attempts and plans, best made plans, as they say.
Yes.
So tell us about some of your stories, Becca, of how, with your young children as well. I know that you
Oh
have
man.
more consumption opportunities than many.
It's so true. I mean, I just want to say, like I totally have my coffee cup with me, or I have my water bottle, or
Yes.
I have, we always talk about, you don't necessarily have to have a fancy special thing either. I've got like literally the forks from downstairs out of the
Right.
drawer and a set of chopsticks. And those are just in my bag with me all the time. But, sometimes it's crazy and you're running out. And an example is with my kids, sometimes we're lucky if everybody has both shoes on. So I feel like that's a success. But we'll go out and everybody's hungry, they're melting down. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna grab something to eat. And it would be great if I had, all of my utensils and stuff with me, and most of the time that I do.
Yeah.
But the good thing about single use, so the other day we went out and I had to grab a bite to eat, and I looked in my bag and I didn't have enough utensils. And so the shop asked me like, hey, do you want utensils? And I was like, I felt really guilty. I had that moment of like, oh my God, I'm going to ask for plastic utensils. And I was like, yeah, I do need some utensils. But what we found out was that, what I did was I cleaned them off, put them back in my bag, and then I had another set, right?
I mean,
it's ready
so
to
many
go.
of those utensils are so durable, like to-go containers, the tubs that you get, like a salad or something in. You could reuse them many times. And sometimes it's not even for food consumption, but it's to store something at home, some material or soap or cat food or whatever. I mean, there's like, it's just really wise to look for a second use when you have to opt for single use.
Totally. So, that just happens. One thing, we've got a comment here. It says, what things are commonly mistaken as recyclable that you would like to have repurposed? I'm specifically looking for creative ideas. That's a really, really good question. One item which is kind of not necessarily exactly your comment, but this is like a to-go soup container, right? I love these. I use them for leftovers all the time because you can still see what's in them. They can run through the dishwasher. They have a lid. You can even use them for freezing your food. These are things that are really useful. One thing I was thinking about that I have used is those flexible pouches. Pat, you and I have talked about those a lot on the show. They are printed with all of the information on them, like, oatmeal or granola or whatever. But those babies are going to last a really long time. You can rinse them out. They pretty much become trash. But I use them for all kinds of stuff. Like I'll use them. I mean, again, not everybody has kids, but mine, like they're kind of messy. Right. And so I use them to like put stuff like, wet clothes or socks or stuff if we're out and about. And then I can just rinse them out and use them again. So they're really super helpful for that. But they're also food grade. Right? Like that's what they're made for. So you can very easily use them to put food right back into them. So
what I think we're going to see more of is we're going to see more of the, I was just going to say, we're going to see more of the bulk food container space. I think we'll see more options there. Like, I know that you were talking about, like, sometimes you go to the store to get your bulk food, and there's some steps in that process, though. You have to get what they call the tear weight. Like, you have to know whether you're using a heavy container or a light container. And so there's some steps, like the jar. You don't want to have to pay for the weight of the jar in the price per pound of the product that's in the jar. So there's a couple steps there. Yeah, these are attempts and not 100% successful, but at least you didn't get a single-use container that day. You may have paid a little more for your oatmeal, but
it's true.
Yeah, so those are challenges, but I think the stores are getting better at kind of organizing those spaces and providing more tools and like information around it, and people are getting more used to using those. So I think those interrupting that single-use process with refill options is available. There's stores now that have cropped up, around the area. There's Scoop Marketplace, which they were in Seattle for a while. Now they're in Kirkland. There's a couple other folks around town as well. I wish I could remember their names off the top of my head, but
there's Public Goods in West
yes,
Seattle, but just,
thank you.
you know, so many grocery stores that were doing bulk buy in the past are bringing that back. And just really quickly, so I would, you know, I love the idea of bringing my own containers to get like oatmeal in, and I would bring glass jars. Like, one, I feel like I'm like a total superhero if I manage to remember to bring the jar before I get to the store, and I'm like, yes, I nailed it. And then I'll fill it with oatmeal. But like you're saying, I forgot to put the tare weight, which is the weight of the container that they'll subtract from the overall weight of the goods. And so I totally got to the front of the line and I was like, oh, and then I was too embarrassed. I was like, what am I going to do? Empty the oatmeal out into a plastic bag so we can weight the container. I remembered though now to like put a piece of tape on there with the tare weight and then leave that in the cupboard. And then next time I have it, I have the weight of the container on there, which is super helpful.
That is great. And you know, the corporations are getting better too. The whole like bulk food section is like a safe space for refill. But I've seen advertisements recently where like Windex is coming in the jug and you pour it into the container, or they're selling the bottle of Windex without the pump top sprayer. You just kind of move your sprayer to the next jug. So it's not a refill thing. It's just reusing the sprayer, which is at least something. And because there's, you know, and these companies, they want to do these things, you guys, because I mean, they're spending money on the containers that are intended to deliver the product for you. You wanted the product. You didn't really want the container. So they don't have to extract resources and create the container and make that container cost part of the price of the product. You just get the product in a refillable. That's the model, you know, that is more sustainable, of course. So, you know, that's just the kind of the nugget of the whole thing. It's like, remember, it's not a process where you have to be, you know, you're not alone in it. It's the corporations, it's the stores, it's the consumers. Everybody wins in refillable.
Yes. It's the whole scheme. The refill scheme. And I think that's a really good point, is that everyone from large corporations to individual, you know, marketplaces are really working hard. You know, there was an organization we worked with called Green Grub Box that was downtown when we were all downtown. And they have those reusable to-go containers. And you would, you know, subscribe to this service. You get the container, you fill it at a participating vendor, and then you'd be done with it, and they would clean it. And then you'd go to the participating restaurant, you get another one. And, you know, Pat, you were telling me that those models are really great. And if you can support businesses.
They were taken off before COVID. Then like the grocery stores and the other concerns, they sort of had to press pause for a little bit. Well, now as things are opening up, people are getting back to workplaces and such, those programs will come back into play. And they're also going to be adopted more by institutions, whether it's stadiums or hospitals, or the reusable container, the refillable reusable container type space. It's going to begin to take a little more market share. It's going to be out there a little more. People will see it. I mean, there's still the, you know, do-it-yourself options for things at home. You can buy in bulk and create your own. You can, you know, wrap your sandwiches in containers and bring a spork. You know, I just want to get all my props in. So,
so
you
gotta get your props in.
We can all keep doing the things, but I'm telling you, there's people in the corporations who are working on this from a systemic approach as well. And so we're going to all, you know, be converging in the middle in this refill and reuse space, which is really exciting.
All right. Well, cool. It was a good chat. And for all of you, let's do a quick recap. So happy World Refill Day. Bring your containers and fill it up, man. Like, that's the best way. Like Pat's saying, you're after the product, whether it's coffee, water, food, snacks, you know, products to clean your home. You're after the product that's in that. So bring a container that can be reused. It doesn't have to be fancy, folks. Use what you got. You know, you can spend a lot of money or not. The whole point is to use less stuff. That's really the goal. And then I think the final, not quite the final, I guess I got a couple more. Another thing is, just because it's intended as single use, like Ziploc bags, Pat, you talked about that. Wash them and clean them out. Just because it says single use doesn't mean it needs to be single use. Like me and having plastic utensils when I was on the go, I'm going to be using those utensils for a long, long time.
And if you want, you can label those. You know, just put salty snacks on that little label section on the Ziploc, and then you just, you know, you're not going from meat to snacks. So there's certain ways to kind of stay safe and kind of stay, you know, kind of comfortable in that space.
Totally. And also the suggestion for reusing those, zippered
Right.
food pouches. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely. Just get a big old piece of tape or a big marker and write on the front of what you're going to put in there. It's a great way to go. And then I guess finally, it's really all about using less stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just choosing something small. It doesn't have to be crazy complicated or really expensive or really stressful, right? Because it's all about a behavior change. Like all of my little fails, like I do this a lot and I talk to people about it and I try to remember, but life is busy, y'all. I get it. You just want to do what's going to work for you. And every time you make that choice, it's going to make an impact, which is fantastic. So stick with it.
Over time, it'll seem less and less like a scheme and more just like the way you roll, just like the way you do things. It's not a scheme anymore. It doesn't take a lot of forethought, a lot of planning. It's just, oh yeah, I just keep a fork in my bag with me. I don't know. I just do that, so.
Because you don't want to miss an eating opportunity.
I do not. You are right. We're on the same page there.
Absolutely.
But I can't wait to get back to some of these workplace potlucks. I'm just looking forward to those.
It's true. All right, folks. And we've got some really good links to World Refill Day and also some really good examples of things that you can check out for ideas within SPU. So either the Waste-Free Community Grants, lots of different organizations who committed to building programs and activities that reduce their waste. And also, we have a small grant out right now for any of you who have your own scheme that you would like to fund. We have a partnership with Waste Management, and we're giving out grants between $500 and $5,000 for ways to either reduce contamination and recycling and composting or waste prevention. So if you guys got some ideas, it's open through August 13th. Go ahead and submit an application.
That's a great shout out for Waste Management for providing that grant. That's awesome. And so one last thing I wanted to mention, which I was planning, was that as we go into these 4th of July graduation weekends, think about reuse in those spaces too. Because when it is a potluck, as I mentioned the word potluck a moment ago, it's like those are great opportunities to take home a little cup of salad, a little container, this and that. Yeah, so prepare your party place with the reusables. And then also just bring a couple empty containers with you to the next potluck you go to, just in case there's a few leftovers. Because, it sometimes ends up being food waste when people just can't eat all the potato salad that's left over. So get in on it. Go for it.
Yeah. Can't be composting good potato salad or cake.
No,
I'm going to take some of that home.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us. And next week, it's going to be an AMA. So ask me anything. So we encourage you guys to send us your complicated, tough to recycle, tough to compost, confusing questions, or feel free to join us live on the show and we'll be answering your questions. So remember to do that. Tune in next week for that. Ask me or us anything.
Yeah.
All right,
Sounds
folks,
good.
well, with that, this was another fantastic, fun episode of Ask Evelyn. We're so glad that you guys could join us, and we will see you next week. And with that, I'm Becca Fong, and remember, life's simpler with less stuff.
And I'm Pat Kaufman. Remember to recycle right. We'll see you next week. Bye.
All right. Bye.